Hey everyone, Tactics here with another advanced rooting video for Shadowlands Season 4. This time we're going to go over Lower Karazhan. Now there are a ton of different ways to kind of approach this dungeon, and I'm going to show you the way that my team does it for higher keys. I'll be putting up videos just like this one for all the Shadowlands Season 4 dungeons. A few are already out as well over on my channel, so make sure you guys like and subscribe to the channel to be notified when all those get posted. And let's start out here by quickly going through the MTT, which will be linked down below for those of you that want it. So off the top here, we are skipping these Forlorn Spirits. They're just kind of like annoying high health mobs that you don't need for count in this dungeon because there's so much easy count that you can quite easily access, especially now post nerf. I'm going to show you a bunch of very easy count to get, so you don't need this stuff. It's just kind of annoying to run with, so we skip it and we go here. We pull everything on the left side here off the top, and then we go down to the right side, pull these three mobs downstairs to this other 4-pack here. Of course, the Philanthropists, those are the only stop you want to worry about here. Throat Coins doesn't exist anymore, got deleted, so just worry about the AoE. Pull these two together. You can start the RP while this is happening. You do the opera event, and then this is a die after opera event, or teleport out as well. You can teleport out to preserve your buffs and stuff like that. And then you'll go back to the beginning here. Let's go down, and you'll jump down here to Attumen next. So you'll jump down the balcony to Attumen, and you'll handle these pulls. Some people pull all these horses together at once. I actually think because you'll want to kick on each of the horses and stops as well, pulling these 3 horses in with this 4-pack here and taking them in this corner is actually a pretty good strategy. And then you drag this 3-pack with these 3-pack, 3 kicks in each pull, because of course none of these mobs require kicks here, makes it a little bit easier. Then you have the 4-kick pack, and another 4-pack for 5-pack boss. And then instead of running back around, we actually go upstairs now. All this trash here is now insanely free. Guardsmen basically do nothing now. There's no frontal stun anymore. It's gone. So it's some of the easiest trash mobs in the dungeon. They just spawn that hound. You need to be careful about aggro for, but that's about it. Sentries, similarly, they just do like a ranged attack. And if you're stacked in melee, I believe they don't really do anything either. So all this trash up here now is now just insanely free. You cut through kitchen a little bit here, and then you go to Morose's room, pull all this stuff. And you do Morose, start clearing your way over towards Maiden, go upstairs, clear the remainder pretty much of your count here, and then you invis or shroud or whatever to Maiden's room, grab your last 2 infiltrators and a couple mobs there, and then you go to Maiden. So let's actually see this route in practice here. I'll run through it for you guys. Oh, we're partway through the video there, so at the beginning. So again, starting off the top here, we always skip this. Now, it is possible to skip this mob if it's in a good path, like over here in this corner. If you hug this wall, we found it to be a little inconsistent because it doesn't always seem to start in the same spot. So the path can be variable a little bit. So obviously we have access to a rogue, so we just shroud it. But if we didn't, we were actually just invising this sometimes, like committing invis bots, because it's not the biggest deal to commit them. And frankly, that mob's kind of annoying anyways. So we skip that mob and head straight up into the opera balcony area, and we're going to run left here and pull all this stuff over here. And again, the main thing in this pack is you're going to have a few philanthropists here. They're marked, so I believe it's 3, and we're just making sure to stop their AoE rain coins or whatever the heck it's called, and just make sure that we're all kind of safe and not needing to move too much already, because storming of course kind of makes you need to move. The Nathrazim in this area makes you need to move. So we basically commit AoE stops like Phoenix Flame or whatever it's called. Dragon's Breath, Phoenix Flames, one of those two. One of those two is the stop. Leg sweep, that kind of thing. Leave down most of the stuff, and then you're going to see me basically run and chain into the next pack when this starts getting lower. I'm just going to head out. I think the Nathrazim is going to die first, then I'll leave. That debuff there, this one right here, when they start running out of money and they put it on their whole all their allies, very important. I'll talk about that in a second here, but very good for putting that debuff on maybe the boss. So yeah, we're just dragging that 3-pack. Don't hit it too hard. We're dragging it all the way down to this pack here. Make it a little bit easier. Well, not easier, but get some extra AoE in. It's pretty nice. And similar idea, we're going to get this pack a little low. And then I'm just going to start running once stuff's getting low into the last 2 packs here. Going to have someone trigger RP, group these guys up, and of course these philanthropists should go broke, hopefully, and debuff things. We're just cleaving this pack down, and you're going to see we're actually going to save a Philanthropist. You can actually save 2 if you're very careful. But I believe we only end up saving 1. So you see, everything is debuffed with that blue debuff. This one here. This one, this one, this one. That's a damage taken increase on all these mobs from the Philanthropist going broke. You can also apply this debuff to the bosses in the Opera event, which is very, very powerful, which we are going to do in a second here. I'll show you how to do it. So we're going to AoE down most of this pack. There is going to be a couple high health Philanthropists naturally because we added, they were in this pack to begin with. So you see there, specifically there's one really high one and one medium health one here. I believe the medium health one does end up dying, but we end up maintaining that high health one and kind of letting it go broke. And then we're going to move down. I think we also started RP a little late here, yeah. Usually we'd start RP a little earlier than this, but it was a little late here, but that's fine. We're kind of chilling here, and we're just maintaining this guy. Big thing is you don't want to kill him yet, right? You just kind of want to let him chill. And we're just waiting for the rest of the RP. Again, normally you would send someone earlier to trigger this, but right now we're just waiting. Don't kill him. Need him to be alive. And then as soon as you get into the pack, you can kill him. And it'll put a debuff on all of the actual boss mobs here. And so this week, our Opera was Tony and the Murloc. Yeah, these guys. So for them, I do recommend lusting on pull and nuking these ruffians, and that's why this one Philanthropist gives you pretty insane value, because you get to debuff all these ruffians and Tony, which helps you kill them even faster, because these guys and their poison is what you're really scared of. So drag the Philanthropist on top, we kill it, and you wait a second here, and you're going to see them all get debuffed. There it is. So they all have that damage taken debuff now as well. I think the one jumped out. So the one dodged it, but the others do have it. And we've lusted, we've popped all CDs on this pack. And the goal here is actually, we don't even care about Tony damage. We care about killing these ruffians, because them jumping out, doing the poison, which will sometimes hit the same person multiple times. Very, very dangerous, by the way. That's what you're trying to mitigate. So you're trying to kill them as quickly as possible to have as few of those debuffs, or having to deal with as few of those debuffs. And as you can see here, like we've already killed one now with only one set of debuffs. That's the second set of poison debuffs going out. And we've been able to kill them before a third set goes out there. We've killed 2, and now there's only one guy left. Much, much safer. And we've even already pushed Tony now as well. For the bubbles here, they're all marked. We assign one kick. Or one person really to each, and they're going to kick, stop. We have AoE stops assigned as well to help out with all that stuff. I think Tony decided to do a set of flame tornadoes here. That's what happened. So yeah, basically watch the bubbles. If you're on an all melee party, I think the bubbles will just all cast at like the same furthest person. So that's one way you can kind of deal with it with cheese. But otherwise, just watch those bubbles, because they will likely one-shot you, as these waves will also one-shot you. One thing to note with this thunder, you see I have a weak aura with it. I'll link that in the description. That tells you when your specific thunder is going to explode, because they do not explode at the same time. They explode in a staggered fashion. So sometimes, like, if you see someone else explode, that doesn't mean yours has. And if yours has exploded, that doesn't mean that the person beside you has. Right? You see they're going to slowly disappear one at a time. So be aware of that. The thunder does not all explode at the same time. Otherwise, with this Murloc, the one thing you just want to be aware of is just staying off the walls, because these waves, of course, will spawn directly on the walls, and that's a bit scary. Once you actually get past this part, and it's just the Murloc and Tony, you will probably want to prioritize hitting the Murloc, because, of course, right, Tony has the fire waves and the fire AoE around him, whereas she will have the thunder AoE around everybody and these waves, and these are much more deadly, the Murloc abilities. And so if you're able to get those out a little bit quicker, that's definitely better for you and your party. So cleave them, but cleave off of the Murloc. The other Opera event, which NA will have next week, is the Beauty and the Beast one. For that one, we focus the broom right away, and of course, actually, no, I might have a video. Let me see if I can find a video of it. Okay, I found it. Okay, so here is an example of the Beauty and the Beast Opera event. So right off the top here for this opera event, we do not lust. Okay, lust is not reserved for pull, but we do pop all CDs. So we still have all CDs for the pull, and all these CDs are going into the broom here. Now, in terms of how we're managing other things, you have one kick, and a ranged kick can handle the solo, by the way. So we assign our ranged kick to handle the big AoE hit, heat wave from the fire candles. Okay, so one range kick on a heat wave always. Everyone else is assigned to kicking these soup sprays, but you will note that sometimes we do let soup sprays go through, particularly, especially early on in this fight. Of course, later on in this fight, you will not really want to do that, but early on you do, because you want to use that soup spray debuff to clear this fire, because anyone who gets hit by soup spray gets a few seconds of debuff, and when you get that debuff, you don't take damage from the fire, you can run through it, but be careful. If you're in that fire when that debuff runs out, you will just kind of die. So be careful. And why that's important is the broom. If the broom ever gets kited through fire, it goes super fast. It's going to just probably murder your face. So you need to be careful of that. So you're going to see it's fixating here, and we are kiting it kind of around in a circle around the fires, away from the fires. It's going to switch its fixate target there at the end of that cast. So be careful your positioning. And we're just kind of kiting it through away from these fires. And you're going to see here we let some soup sprays go through. And that means that people with the soup spray debuff can now cleanse this fire just like that, make our life a little bit easier. And at this point, we're going to be kicking a lot more soup sprays now, because we don't have to kite that broom around. That's the major thing, is you let a few in early, and also, of course, they get that damage buff. So the earlier soup sprays are less dangerous. So you want to let a few of those but we were still kicking some, right? We did still kick a few of those soup sprays just to interrupt that chain. We never interrupted that AoE because that's just time where the cauldron is doing nothing. But hard focusing that broom first, and then again we just keep kicks on Mrs. Cauldron, and we have the one range kick on the heat wave from Luminor, and otherwise we are burning Luminor down. We're killing him next, and then we're able to finish off clearing the platform full of fire for Miss Cauldron at the end here. Notice here, like at this point though, like you do want to make sure that you have all your cooldowns ready for Coggleston, because at this point the fight is just, you've done like the scary part of the fight. That's why you pop CDs on pull, and at this point you're just need to control these two guys. Keep your kicks, make sure you heat wave, for example, get that. It's a very quick kick. You want to make sure you kick it. Even one tick is a big damage burst here. And now, right, there's almost no fire, so we just have kicks basically fully assigned to kicking that. Leave leftovers, not a big deal. Kicking soup sprays, you can let one go off, a couple go off. It's not the end of the world. It's just they're chain casting against one person. It's a little bit scary here. And we're just kind of like getting ready. We have all CDs coming up here. We're hard chilling. And we're going to lust with all CDs again on Coggleston, because Coggleston is pain. Coggleston is pain. This is the basic, like the big hard DPS check of this one for Beauty and the Beast, is nuking Coggleston before you get nuked and overwhelmed by forks. Notice he's still immune, so be careful, and melee, don't be near him because he will just kind of auto attack. So big thing here, lusting, nuking these forks. So what we also can save is the AoE stops and CCs and stuff like that. Not for the first set of forks because lust is rolling. Not even really for the second set of forks because, again, lust is still rolling, I believe, for the second. Yeah, lust is still here. So these forks just kind of die. You still want a big defensive, and especially dinner bell, kick always. I believe you need 2 kicks to cover the dinner bells, so make sure you have kicks. And Coggleston does the big tank smash, not Karazhan, but this is where the third set, there it is, Dent Armor. Make sure you have something big up for that. But this third set of forks is where it starts to get a little bit out of hand, so that's when we start to commit things like Binding Shot, like Leg Sweep, to kind of keep these forks away from the tank. So it's bound over there, so it's like they're not really doing anything scary, and finish off Coggleston. That's how you would handle Beauty and the Beast. Unfortunately, I don't actually have a Wicket video or how to handle that. I've literally not done Wicket in Season 4 somehow. I've dodged it. Wicket was up when we were doing prep for TGP, and obviously it wasn't the TGP boss. It wasn't the boss this week, and it's not the boss next week for NA, because of course NA and EU are on different schedules, so apologies. I don't have anything for Wicket. But moving on. So after this boss, what we're going to do, let me fast forward a little bit here, kill them, is we are going to either die or teleport out, whichever, doesn't really matter, and we're going towards the horse. Going towards the horse, flying around, there we are. All right, going towards the horse. All right, so again, pulling these 3 horses here. So this, I think we end up, so normally what we were doing is we were doing 5 horses. We were waiting for that stable hand to leave. And I believe one of the horses charges into this corner and pulls the stuff through the wall. That's what happens here. But I actually do think pulling these 3 horses and this pack right against the wall into this corner is the play. Just leave these guys over here for now. I think that pulling these 3 horses, assigning 1 kick to each for the what's it called? They're 1 cast. It is also stoppable, so keep that in mind. You don't need to kick it necessarily. You can stop it. And then adding this pack in here, just watch the flame circles. It doesn't deal damage to the player. It deals damage to other people that get in the flame circle. So be careful with that. That's the real dangerous part. You don't want to murder your friends with those flame circles. So just get out if you need to. Try and aim as the tank all these charges into the corner. This, again, got out of hand. We pulled way more than we wanted to here. This is like 5 horses and a whole other pack here with the infiltrate. It's way too much, more than we wanted to pull. We managed to, I think we lived this. But yeah, definitely not what I would recommend. Just the 3 horses and this wall pack here will make this, will be infinitely easier to do. And again, yeah, just point these chargers into the corners, into the wall as much as you can. Yeah, I think I purged. Yeah, I end up using both my cheats here because this is way too much. This is way too much. So don't do this. Don't do this at home. Not recommended. But yeah, 3 horses, wall pack, definitely very, very good. Will be much lower damage, of course, and much easier to do in terms of kicks and things like that. And note that the tank, you can sidestep those charges. I think that's what actually procced my cheat there, is that there was just so much shit on the ground that I missed a sidestep on one of the charges, and I ate it, and it did. Murdered me, you know. So that's what you want to be aware of. Kicking those guys, sidestepping those charges, but making sure you're trying to aim those charges into the walls. And then from there, what you could do is you would pull those 2 horses with the stable hand. Right now it's just a stable hand because we got the 2 horses. And you could pull it into this 3 pack as well. And that would be, again, both packs only have 3 kicks. The stable hand just has those that heal you want to worry about. That's all you really care about on the stable hand. Horses just have the 1 kick / stop, and otherwise, apprentices, journeymen don't really do anything of note. So you're just kind of clearing around these packs here. There's another 4 horse pack after this, right? Again, face into the wall. Do your best, get your stops, kicks, all that stuff. Moving into the next pack right before the bar. There's 1 pack which we pull into this room. Jeremy, this pack's basically done. So yeah, then I move into the next corner. This is the 4 horses here, and then. There's 2 packs in this room. I don't recommend pulling them together. Again, this is like a potential like lust option, but notice like where we are in this route, we don't even have a lust yet. So I just pulled this 4 pack back into this corner. Makes it easier to do. And then I move in the next 5 pack in the room. I pull into the corner that they're already in. Right, I just walk in. They're already in this corner, so I pull them right here. Again, using corners to your advantage here for those chargers to make sure that they're never charging at your party is very, very beneficial. Sidestepping those charges because they are a big hit of damage even for tanks. So you do want to be avoiding those as the tank as best you can and just keeping your kicks up. That's really the main thing. This trash is probably the scariest trash in the dungeon now, honestly. And that's why we do front load it. And that's why also we skip all the opera trash, right? Because the opera trash is also quite scary, the trash after the opera boss. So we're able to skip all that, but this trash is not skippable, right? Because if you pull Attumen, all this trash pulls, so you have to kill this trash, making it the most scary trash in the dungeon. So we try and front load that in the key, see if we troll. But then we go into Attumen, who is a very interesting boss fight. So basically, all this damage here doesn't really matter. You see people are kind of just like chilling, holding their CDs for when he's going into the Attumen, the horseman phase. Because that's where, you know, the damage matters. Once you push him low enough, he won't go back up on the horse and you can just finish him off. So make sure you taunt here. And the big thing is the Mortal Strike is a frontal, so melee. You always want a leg behind the boss here. Pulling him a little closer to midnight also makes it easier for melee to get uptime here. And then you have shared suffering. So, well, you could split this. It's actually not worthwhile. You're going to get your party murdered. So instead, you can either have your tank commit large cooldowns, or you can have your tank commit a medium to minor cooldown and have an immunity split the soak with them, like a rogue cloak, a hunter turtle, that kind of thing. So you're going to see me here. I'm just going to eat this first one solo. Chilling. We did commit lust, of course, to that burn phase with CDs. And now this is the part that gets a lot of people killed. So immediately after the first and only first intermission phase, he only does this after the first intermission phase, he is wild. He has no aggro table. He will just run around and hit the closest person, including DPS. It's very, very scary. Melee get no uptime. You need to run away from the boss until he gets back to having aggro. Every other intermission after this, or every time he goes back on the horse, he will just go to the tank. Only the first one, for whatever reason, he will just run around, go wild, and murder people. So be careful of that. You notice on melee are like over here, like they're gone. He's literally pressing Crackling Jade Lightning. Like he's gone. Midnight again books it for the mage. Mage starts running. He's just running around in circles. Now the other problem is that you have to be aware of the dead zone of these horses. These horses spawn between 10 and 30 yards from the boss. So there's a safe spot within 10 yards of the boss. And the safe spot past 30 yards from the boss. That means that if you're sitting between 10 and 30 yards from the boss, you're in the dead zone where horses can just straight up spawn on top of you and one-shot you. I believe that does happen here in a second here. Yeah, right there. It spawns right behind. He's just 30 yards away, right on him. Or not 30 yards. He's less than 30 yards away, right on him. So, I mean, obviously, for this first set, you can't really be 10 yards within the boss because of how he just runs around murdering people until he hasn't, like, he still doesn't have an aggro table, by the way. Like, he still hasn't chosen to fixate the tank yet. So what you kind of need to do, even as a melee, is just run 30 yards from the boss during this first intermission. During every other horse phase, you are fine to just sit 10 yards within the 10-yard safe zone because he's going to be hitting the tank. But this first one in particular is just really, really annoying. Should be fixed. I don't know why it still operates like this, but it's not great. So now he has aggro finally. He's now hitting the tank finally. So we res up the rogue and we keep moving forward. And from here, the fight is just kind of rinse and repeat. This horse phase versus the rider phase. Again, I can actually show you how the horse phase would work normally, right? So after the first after the first rider phase, right, he does that weird horse phase. So now this is the second rider phase. He's going into the next horse phase, and immediately he's hitting the tanks, right? So now melee are completely safe here to just chill within 10 yards of the boss, completely safe within 10 yards, completely safe past 30 yards. It's between the 10 and 30 yards. Very important. Between 10 and 30 yards, dead zone. Don't be there. And it's just way easier just after the first time he gets on his horse. So be aware of that. We're going to push boss here, and horse is going to enrage. And so what you actually need to do here, once the horse enrages, there's an example of a cloak split, by the way. When I barely committed anything to that, he came in the cloak, half the damage easy. So what you do here is this can be LOS. So the horse is enraged. Mighty Psalm deals a ton of damage. You need to not get hit by it. So there's two things. So you see on the minimap here, the priest is actually, again, beyond 30 yards. The stomp has a 30-yard range. The mage should also be out here by the priest. You're going to see you're going to take a ton of damage here. But the melee are right here beside me. And you see Mighty Stomp goes off. He's LOSing. No damage. You see that actually did one-shot the mage. He cauterized. So the mage should be out here 30 yards beyond to just take 0 damage. See, the priest took no damage. Rogue took no damage. That's how you handle this. You right on this pillar here. Melee can use it to LOS the stomp. Range can be out of range of the stomp. Very, very easy. No one takes damage from the stomp. Yeah, and then he paused. So yeah, basically the mage just needs to be way 30 yards away, and he's fine. But now is where you go upstairs. So I just put kind of like a sample of like how you would pull these mobs in MDT. Realistically, like you almost do this in one pull, and you just kind of chain from room to room. Do note that there is a pat of 2 mobs that will come behind you. And again, the big thing about these sentries is that they will shoot you if you're at ranged, I believe. So ranged DPS just want to come in and stand close to these sentries, and that mitigates a bunch of damage from them. Otherwise, the guardsmen now do no frontals, right? There's no frontal stun. That's been deleted. Instead, the only thing they do now is summon the dogs. So you will want to be careful of aggro when those dogs spawn, because of course they're fresh mobs. Everyone's already ripping their damage. It's just already down on the ground. Someone's going to get the hound aggro. That's not the tank, probably. So here, we're just waiting for the pat to come in. There is a pat of 2 that kind of goes around in a circle here. And so you kind of want to see where they are and where they're at. So I'm going to add them in here and then go into the next room to grab the last remaining pack as well. And again, this is just kind of a very fluid area. None of the trash does anything. So you can pull as quickly, chain, all those kind of things. We're adding more into this pack now as well. Really, the only mob you're worried about, especially like as a tank, is this infiltrator in terms of damage taken, right? Everything else just kind of autos you, and that's really, really it now. So this is some very, very free trash. Very easy to play that I recommend pulling 100% of the time. So basically, we're just moving around in a circle here, pulling all the trash in this upstairs area, all of it. And as much and as little as the time as you want. This is where we get to the kitchen. We start pulling in like 1 packs, I believe. Like there's like 2 separate mobs at the front here, like the chef and the waiter at the beginning. Care the waiters. The waiters are still a little nasty. So the waiters do still apply that big damage taken increase to your tank. I believe this is the only waiter we pull in the kitchen, just the one. And then we pull, obviously, the one waiter that pats around in Moreau's room, but that's about it. Again, I think this was, yeah, we have one more pull of stuff. We're just going to pull it out here, probably. Pulling stuff from the kitchen as well. Fast forwarding a little bit, because, again, the trash doesn't do anything. Not doing anything. Yeah, so we're pulling this one infiltrator pack in the middle of the kitchen here with the chef and the baker. Again, chef and baker don't really do anything anymore. They also almost do nothing. I think like the chef puts like a debuff on the tank, like a fire debuff. Someone puts a disease. I can't remember. Maybe that's the dog, actually. The dog might be the one that puts the disease. And so, yeah, the only mob that really does anything here is the dog that we're going to pull in next here. He's going to tag. 7k down. Here's the dog. So the dog does a big... Howl actually does nothing if he's away from mobs. Like, we even tried taking him in this corner once, like near these waiters, and Howl did nothing. It didn't pull anything nearby, so seems like it has a pretty small range. And usually this comes to the chef. For some reason, that chef didn't come. But yeah, it's that bite. That diseased bite is a big tank hit and puts a nasty debuff on you. So you want to dispel that and just make sure you're prepared for taking that big tank hit as well. Yeah, nasty disease. So disease dispel is very, very good. And then once these guys die, we're just going to walk in to the left here. Squeeze by. I'll rewind a little bit. We just squeeze by. Double waiter. We don't want that. Again, 2 tank debuffs. No thank you. Just walk left. Don't need anything special. And you're in this room. We do pull Arcane Wardens. So we pull these Arcane Wardens now. Again, they've been pretty significantly nerfed. And also, you use them to kill the ads. So you're going to see here, we're going to Venn diagram on these ads. Tank them in the middle. I'm going to eat one, something into the world. And again, these guests also have been nerfed, right? They all kind of do nothing now. Before there were like some casters, some like with like a fire AoE, all this other weird stuff. Now they're all just, they're going to hit you. And so we just kind of chain pull this room, use the Arcane Wardens to your advantage to kind of blow up these packs. Watch the waiter. Again, there is a single waiter that pats around this room that you will need to pull. So make sure your tank is ready for it. And that is really the only important mob. You know, we skull it as well. So be aware of it. Otherwise, though, we just kind of chain pull this room. Literally everything in this room, by the way. Yeah, the last Arcane Warden as well. Last Infiltrator, and then we get to Morose. Now, Morose, again, is a rotating series. You get 4 mini-bosses every time, or every week, rather. It's on a weekly rotation, just like Opera. 4 mini-bosses out of a potential 6. So, what we have is this week, actually, let me see who we have this week, because I don't remember their names at all. Terrible with names. So, we have Crispin, Darius, Druger, and Millstipe. So, Crispin and I believe Druger are the 2 that are the worst, I would think. They are the hardest to deal with, and so what we end up doing is we pull one of them on pull with Bloodlust with another like not too difficult one, which I believe we do Darius. And then after those die, we would want to pull in Druger and deal with Druger, and then we do Dorothy last. A couple things to know for this boss. If Morose ever hits 60% health, they become CC immune, so you'll have to deal with whatever ones are left at that point. 2, taking them up here, definitely not too great, because you will break your CC. We try and pull down, we do actually break the CC, and things get very, very hectic on this boss, as you'll see for us. Not ideal, don't recommend. But yeah, the more these guys together, the bigger their buff is, and the faster their abilities will cast. Notice things like Disorients, and like Death Grip Displacement actually work to interrupt these spells. So we have a rotation. So Para works, Gouge works, Death Grip works, and I can't remember the priest spell. Chastise works to stop these abilities. So very, very useful. So you're going to see here, we're going to use the traps to kind of CC Druger and Millstipe. Also, Freezing Trap would work. But again, Freezing Trap can also be used as a stop, though that's much harder. I believe you can also shackle them because they're undead. So now we pull Morose with 2 guys. We have all CDs and Lust going into this. The focus, Crispin. He's the dangerous one for sure. We have 2 stops assigned to Crispin here. So Crispin is going to cast his big frontal line giant thing, Willbreaker. There it is. I Death Grip it. Interrupts the Willbreaker. This will not go off. He's fine. We also have, Gouge, Para, and Chastise. Able to interrupt Crispin's frontal here. And at some point, so this Druger jumps in. Not ideal. You do not want to pull this guy in yet. You would want to pull him in after Crispin and the other guy here are dead already. Something, I don't even know what hit him there, but something hit him. Very scary. I think we're going to have like a death here, and it's rough, a death or 2. Spooky. Don't recommend. Do 2, and then 1, and then 1. Yeah, because the whirlwind's going very, very fast, right? It's ticking very fast. Everyone's taking a ton of damage. The Willbreaker, we gouged that one. Luckily, still, we were able to get it off because that would have been terrible if that went off. Very, very bad. Perfect timing on the stun. Should have IBF'd that. Chastise stops that one, and we also Death Grip, so we doubled up there, but that's all that matters is it's dead. It's dead, we're okay. And then we were finishing off Darius here, and Melee's just trying to stay away from this whirlwind, because again, this guy's getting a buff and whirlwinding. Not ideal. Very, very not ideal. That's definitely why you want to focus this guy alone, because yeah, that damage is definitely pain. And basically you can see here, now we lost a bunch of damage from the deaths, so kind of unfortunate, but we're just focusing anyone but Morose. Whenever anything is up, Morose is never the target, except for when there's the last one. Especially Millstipe. Millstipe is very, very easy if you are coordinated with kicks, right? So we keep kicks on Millstipe, and we actually put damage into Morose at this point. Our damage is not even into Millstipe at this point. We just have a kick rotation, and we're just hitting Morose. But yeah, that was how you barely scrape by doing this fight. Again, recommend doing 2 at the beginning, and always, what's his face? I can't even remember their names now, man. Crispin? Yeah, always Crispin first when you have all your big CDs running, in my opinion. I think, especially in Pugs, that is like the Pug Killer guy. And if you have a grip or a disorient effect to interrupt him, even better. Crispin and something not too difficult to start, then another difficult guy, and then one of the easier ones for last for your group is my recommendation. Other thing you can do for the Tank Buster, I believe, yeah, I'll do it in a second here, but you can actually AMS the coat check. It's a magic effect, so anything you can do against magic effects, you can do against that coat check ability. Right, it's going out on me, that purple tornado. AMS, no debuff, very easy to deal with. But yeah, that's Morose. We've lusted him, all that good stuff. Once he dies, and when he's alone, it's not really much. It's just an HPS check at that point, and DPS check to kill him before you have too many bleeds and die. At this point, we're going to be pulling a bunch of this stuff into this room here, LOSing it as needed, and just kind of pulling it here because there's a lot of trash you don't want to pull, right? Attendance, and there's one other mob, I can't remember. Our kind of banned mobs, retainers, there they are. They have a bunch of casts, pain, suffering, very, very bad. So yeah, you normally want to skip literally every single one of them. We don't pull a single retainer or attendant in this entire route. So that's a big plus of this route. You skip all the terrible mobs, right? Skip all the mobs after opera, skip all the retainers and attendants, skip all the ushers, none of that. We only play good mobs. Now this could have been done faster, probably. I probably could have pulled in this group of attendants like way earlier. I'm just small range DK, but yeah, I probably should have pulled this group in earlier, the servants as well. And then we're just gonna finish this pack off here, and we're gonna run through to go towards Maiden now. Finishing off this little pack here. Yeah, I could have added that pack way earlier as well. So we're going pretty slow here. We have time, so it's not the end of the world. But we are going a little slower than we could be going. These guest pack, again, way easier now. You can easily double pull these guest pack together at a time, like triple pull even. Like, they don't really do anything. We're going to pull this pack all the way in and upstairs. You see here, pulling them in. Everyone's just running. Grab that one guy who pats around. Going all the way upstairs to this pack upstairs of guests. And pulling this all together. Again, guests do nothing now. There's nothing to worry about. So we kill these guys. We have a Nathrezim that gets pulled in. He's just like solo up here on the ledge, so just have a range pull him in. And you just need to watch this demoralizing shout from the valet. So yeah, we have the marker out on the valet. That's the most important kick in this pack. It's really the only kick in this pack. Like, you can kick these Undying Servants. It's just a magic debuff, though. It can be dispelled. This isn't the mind control. So we have kicks assigned to them anyways. But the valet there is demoralizing shout is for sure the most important kick here. So now we're just finishing off this trash. Again, this last guy patting into us. And I believe that is all the trash now before just the 4-pack that we're going to do before Maiden here. Careful, it's still very hard to see those sleep puddles under the carpet. But I actually believe we get the combat bug here. Where we're all stuck in combat from something. Yeah, so we're all stuck in combat here. So normally this would be a shroud skip, but we can't even invis skip. So the rogue vanishes, the mage invises, I think, and then we just run down and we basically death skip this area now. But again, ideally this would just be a regular skip to the end, and we're standing around. This a little awkward, but yeah, we're stuck in combat right now. Basically, is what's happening. So we just run through, death skip, res. And we're here right on time now, especially, but you know, we're okay. So we pull these two. We have someone go in and grab the 2 Nathrezim. I think we got 1 extra mob. Yeah, we got 1 extra mob here. It's not the end of the world, but ideally you just get the 2 Nathrezim with this 2-pack, and that's all you need. If you do ever get one of these gentlemen, or there's one other guy I can't remember in this area that we obviously skip. They have like 1 kick each. Important kick each. The Shadow Ball's not a big deal, but I mean, you can kick it because there's nothing else to kick in this pack. But otherwise, that's we just go this. We go into boss here. You wouldn't need to go into boss normally. We're just a little bit tight on time, and it's not the end of the world here. Pretty easy to handle. So Maiden. Right off the bat here, you do want to be spread out. You can see everyone has some distance between them, even the melee. You just want to make sure you have a kick rotation on that Holy Shock. It's because the uninterruptible bolts, they do, I believe, cleave. Holy Shock, of course, you just want to kick that. That will make you get one shot by the bolts that are unkickable. And the bolts, of course, bounce. Otherwise, you get the Holy Ground, or Sacred Ground, rather. Run it off to the edge here. And in terms of handling the Mass Repentance. So, this is before... this is after the fix they did to where, like, Maiden was sometimes autoing DPS players. Between casting Mass Repentance and her shield. Now, that was actually used by tanks to never need to soak. I was too scared to test it here, so I'm not sure if it still works. But beforehand, what you could do as a tank is you just taunted near the end of the Mass Repentance cast, and she would auto you 100% of the time, immediately breaking your CC, so you never needed to soak. Now, as a tank, you may need to soak. Obviously, DKs can AMS every other one. And any kind of immunity, anything like that does work. So you can use that instead of soaking, but sometimes you will need to soak now. Maybe that taunt thing still does work. I am just not sure based on the wording of that hotfix that it does, and I didn't want to test it in a 26 where we were close to the timer, so I didn't. Otherwise, though, any immunity from DPS classes work. Scars trinket, if you're lucky enough to have a scars trinket. The 3rd stage of it, I believe, is a bleed dot. That'll work. Things like grievous, things like even storming, explosive, all those things will work to break it. Any damage works. So if you can avoid touching this puddle, or in some way stagger how many people are touching the puddle each time, that is definitely highly recommended, because if everyone has to touch the puddle every time. Your healer is going to be in for a rough time, so be very careful with the number of people soaking each time. I believe we stagger like our immunities here. Yeah, so like, yeah, we have the 2 melee touch it, and the mage blocks, and like the next time the rogue is gonna cloak, for example. Here our lust is going to be up for the second shield. So you see there, we break the shield and we wait to near the end to kick it to just get some more time. And again, kick rotations going on holy shocks. A holy shock going out is likely death for someone if they get holy bolted. Holy bolt will just be like a one shot at that point. So I don't even know if holy shock might one shot itself, but just don't let those go out. Otherwise, very, very simple boss. Saving damage for shields as needed is very good. You see now we're gonna have Tiger coming up with Lust, and also with the bust here as well. The first one, I believe we also had Combust. That's why Fire Mages are very good in this dungeon. They can just combust, 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 combust. So we nuke this shield, and we have enough damage at this point and Lust running that we are going to be able to kill her before a third shield. I believe just barely before a third shield, but we do have enough damage kind of planned out for dealing with that third shield if needed. For example, I would move my gavel to be for the second and third shield instead of being for the first and second, as an example of something we can do. But yeah, there we have it, guys. Lower Karazhan. So hopefully this guide helps you out a little bit, helps you learn a little bit more about the dungeon itself, how to handle everything. And if you enjoyed the video, make sure you leave a like and subscribe. I have a bunch of these already out on my channel. I'll be doing the rest of them in the coming days. And of course, I'll be doing this for Dragonflight and beyond. So guys, make sure you turn on those notifications so you don't miss a video. Otherwise, if you've got questions, leave them down below or stop by my Twitch and ask them there. I'll do my best to answer. And I'll see you guys in the next video.